you literally put the cover on it. It is now charging. How cool is that? Come on. Oh. A warm welcome back to the channel, everybody. Every now and again I'll calm down and just do a normal regular unboxing and review, and today is one of those days because I saw something online from a company that I am very familiar with, Olight. If you can recall, I've done some unboxings for them in the past when they have sent me products. I own one of the best torches I have ever purchased in my life. Yes, the Olight X9R Marauder. This is the Olight Osight 3 MOA Rechargeable Reflex sight with magnetic charging cover. Wow. So the first question is it a bit of an overkill for airsoft? And two, will I like it?
This is another Airsoft Mike production.
The Olight Osight introduces a first of its kind, a pioneering magnetic charging cover featuring a battery display that reveals the precise battery levels for both the cover and the optic, making uncertainty certain.
Wow.
It boasts over 70,000 hours of runtime on lowest mode and over 17 days on the brightest mode, extended to more than 70 days with the charging cover. The Olight boasts a large optic lens which ensures a clear and precise target acquisition. And if that wasn't enough, the auto-sensing mode chooses the best brightness for you, with 10 daylight levels and 2 night levels in manual mode and lockout mode, catering comprehensively to all usage scenarios. And did I mention? It's parallax-free.
Right, so the accessories look good. So you get a little tool, you get some screws, and you get a little pouch. So the first thing that drew my attention to this bit of kit is that it has a cover that goes over the top of the sight and it charges the sight up, and it's got a nice little display on the top. How could I not want this? It's a bit of tech, and I love tech. So, is it an overkill for airsoft? We'll get into that, but look, here's that little tool, and look at the little skull on there. So at the top of the tool, you use that so you can adjust your windage and elevation, and at the bottom is so you can mount the sight. Nice. And this is your USB-C charging cable. So here you have your little pouch and your little lens cleaner, and what I do find very handy is that they supply you with a set of screws. Because you know, not all sidearms have the same mounting screw holes. And talking about mounting, although not included with this particular package, you can also get an optional Picatinny mount adapter so you can put this on a primary. Now, for the purpose of this video, I will ultimately put it on this TP22. But first, let me go away and make sure this is fully charged, and I'll be right back. But just before I do, let me just show you. There's your USB socket on the back, and if you look carefully on the top there, you can see what looks like very faint markings on there. Well, actually, those light up. It shows you the charging status, not only of the sight, but also of the cover itself. Okay, we are fully charged. So the first thing I want to show you is that on the side of the charging cover, there's a button. When you press that, when the case is on the sight itself, it will show you the charge status of the sight. How cool is that? So the actual optics, the sight itself is fully charged. Now, if I take the cover off, so now that I've got the sight there, I now press the button on the charging cover. Look at that. That is so cool. So that's showing you how much charge the charging cover has. Nice. So let's have a look at the Olight Osight itself. One thing I love about it is how big the sight picture is. It's huge, especially when you compare it to, say, that there, look, my usual go-to RMR. I mean, look at them side by side. Looking at that, I'm just wondering if the Osight is going to be a bit too big and bulky on a sidearm. We'll see in a moment. So on the side there, you can see a plus and minus button. Now those adjust the brightness. However, if you hold on to the minus button for about 3 seconds, that will toggle the motion sensor mode on or off. Pressing the plus button for 3 seconds switches between the various modes such as manual mode, lockout mode and auto sensing mode. Right, now what I'm going to do, I've lowered the lights down a bit. I'm going to show you the little red dot that you see. Now when I do start brightening it, you're going to notice, hold on, it's a bit hard to, there we go. It's going to look like it's huge and a lot of bleed on it. That is literally not what you will see with the naked eye. It is literally because of how the cameras are set up, the zoom and everything. And as you can see there, it's a bit of a struggle because of how the cameras are set up to get it centered. But there you go, you see that? That's at its maximum. And again, trust me on this, that's not what you will see with the naked eye. When you look at this with the naked eye, you will see an almost perfectly formed red dot at its brightest, okay? And then what I'm going to do now, if I can do it without knocking it off center, there we go. I'm going to now, see that? I'm pressing the minus button, get it to go all the way down until you practically don't see it anymore. Right, so what I'm going to attempt to do now is to show you how the auto sensing mode works. So to activate the auto sensing mode, you would have to press and hold the plus button for 3 seconds. And when you do that, it should flash 3 times to tell you it's in auto sensing mode. Look at the size of that red dot. It's only that big because once again, my lens on my camera is zoomed in right on it. I'm now going to press and hold the plus button for 3 seconds and then you should see it flashing. Before I press it, make sure that that red dot can be seen. Okay, so my camera's trying to not make it that big. Good. But anyway, I'm going to press it now. I'm holding it down. Should flash 3 times. Excellent, that has now flashed 3 times. And I'm glad my camera did that actually, because, you know, I wanted to prove to you that it's not really that big, okay? Right, now it's in auto sensing mode. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce some artificial light, which hopefully just simulates too much sunlight. Say for example, if this was outside, and that red dot should still try and maintain that level of brightness. So there you go, I've just introduced it and look, that red dot is still there. Let me give it even more stronger light. Still there, look how strong that is, okay? And that's me introducing some fairly strong light, and it's maintaining as much as it can that level of brightness. Okay, let me turn the auto sensing off. Okay, auto sensing has now been disabled. It is now in manual mode. Let me introduce that light again, and what you should see now is that red dot struggling to stay bright enough. You see that? You can still see it, to be fair, but it is not as vibrant as the last time I did it. You can see how washed out it looks. That's because it's in manual mode, and what it will need is for you to manually press the plus button up a few times to get it brighter again. Now you can see the difference between auto sensing on and auto sensing off. And if I'm not mistaken, the other theory I believe is if it's quite dark, it will not be too bright, that red dot. Hold on, I also want to show you its cool magnet system that it has. If I put this cover over it and just slowly bring it down, watch how the sight jumps up into the case. Ready? Did you see that? And for peace of mind, it is a pretty strong magnet. Look, that is not falling out. Nice. And I just want to show you here very tiny. In between the minus and the plus button, there's a little LED. And a simple press of one of these buttons will show you the battery level indicator. So if you haven't got your charging cover handy, you can actually check to see what the battery charge level is on the Osight itself. And if you look at the top of this Osight, you can see where the electrical connection is made. And then when you look inside the charging cover, you can see where the connection is made there. And of course you have your controls for elevation and windage. Nice. And if you look here, you can see all that serration going on there. Of course, that will help to reduce glare. And again, just a quick reminder, one of the 3 modes you have on this when you are using that plus button for 3 seconds is a lockout mode. And it does exactly what it says on the tin. It will stop you from accidentally changing the settings that you have already preset on this. For example, the brightness. Right, let's get this Osight mounted on this TTI Airsoft. Basically, the Titanium Tactical Industry Airsoft pistol. So I've already had a little cheeky look and I can see that where I'm going to mount this Osight, it will be on those larger screw holes at the front there. And I will need those screws right there. And I absolutely love what Olight have done here, because again, let me just show you these open. Awesome. These are the screws that I need in this little case. Watch this. I can literally slip that off and it's its own little screw case. And as you can see, it just takes 2 screws to mount. And literally you use the supplied tool here to secure the sight. Nice. Now to me that looks pretty cool. Now it's only because of the design of this TP22 why the sight is all the way far forward like that. So like, for example, if I was to slap this on one of my other sidearms, that Osight right there will be further back here. However, this being a competition piece, when the slide is going back, so the blowback action, your Olight or whatever RMR or sight you wish to put on this competition piece will stay exactly there. It does not travel with the slide. Nice. So that's the only reason why that is there. And here's the key moment right now, why I love this Osight. If the battery is going low, on traditional sights, you'd have to take it off or somehow get to the battery compartment to put the new battery in. So with most of them, yes, you would have to take the sight off. Not with this one. You literally put the cover on it. It is now charging. How cool is that? Come on. However, I've got to admit, with the charging cover on like that, this literally looks like a little paintball setup here, but it's not, okay? I think this is pretty cool. I love this. I tell you what, at some point I'm going to do an unboxing of this bad boy right here, and guess what sight I'm going to be using on it? Of course. So to address my reservations I had about this sight before I bought it, I knew I was going to love it anyway. However, is it a bit of an overkill for Airsoft? Because it is marketed for the boys and girls that have the real deal, yeah? However, I've known Olight as a brand for years, and even though some of their lights and tactical lights and torches are quite expensive, they do like to also target airsofters because they believe that some airsofters will love their products. And would you spend this sort of money for your airsoft piece? I'm gonna say yes. The reason why I'm saying yes, it depends where you are in the hobby of airsoft. You've got some airsofters out there that will spend hundreds, if not thousands, on just 1 or 2 airsoft guns. Of course they'll have no problem shelling out a couple of £100 for a sight like this. And I had to buy this. And I got lucky. So I'm going to give you a quick tip. I do not have a link because that link has gone. The reason why it's gone is because Amazon had one crazy sale on this bad boy right here. And I got it for £100 or just under £100, okay? I went back to look at this sight on Amazon. It's now £240. So they were doing a little crazy sale, limited offer deal, and I just had to snap one up, and I'm so glad I did. And I'll be honest with you, even if it was still at 230 or 240, I'd still buy one because I love tech and I love airsoft even more.